Hey, welcome everyone to tonight's special edition of Return of the Knicks podcast and YouTube channel. We have a tonight we're gonna have a little discussion. I'm gonna bring in my partner in here from A. You all know him from A to Z Media. From to have a good content there. Salute to my main man Z, who congratulations first and foremost on your Michigan victory over Ohio State. Salute Z. How are you, man?
Oh man, I'm on cloud nine still. It was such a great team win. I know this is Knicks related, but congrats on Jim Harbaugh for finally beating our rivals. So can't wait to talk this Knicks, especially after a big win from my Knicks too. Hope you're doing well, Kev.
I'm doing well. My Thanksgiving was well. I know we spoken before that, but I hope your Thanksgiving was really, really excellent. It was fun watching that Michigan with you game. I'm not a college football fan, or I do watch it from time to time. That was a real good promo. Hey, Chef Dan. Oh, let me bring Chef Dan. I'm sorry. Salute, Dan.
Hey, salute to you, Kev. Salute to you, Z. How you doing, man? How you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. We got a lot to unpack tonight. Let's go. Let me give a quick uh, brief of what happened last night before we get into some deep discussion. We have a really intense topic tonight. The Knicks win tonight, 99. Knicks won last night, 99-90 over the Atlanta Hawks to improve their record to 11-19 and dropping the Hawks to 11-10. We saw a lot of things going on for the Knicks, especially shooting 43.9% from the field, 36 out of 82, holding the Hawks at 35.5 from the field, 33 out of 93. The Knicks shot 37.9% from the three-point land, 11 for 29, while holding the home team 9 out of 37 for holding them for 24.3% from three-point land. And the Knicks shot 72.7% from the free throw line, 16 out of 22. And the Hawks shot 75%, 15 out of 20. They rebounds. They were, although being out rebound 50 to 52, and the Knicks had more assists at 20 to 18. The Knicks trailed in the block department 6-3. The Hawks had 8 steals to the Knicks 4. Knicks had, although all those numbers point in the paint, the Knicks had 10 more points in the paint, 48-38. All in all, the Knicks come out with a nice, real signature victory of the regular season, 99-90. Now the question is that I'm asking, and we brought the topic up. What's going on, Kelvin? Kelvin in the building. Salute to you. The question that me and Z were talking off air, and we want to ask there was, Z, go ahead. I'm gonna leave this part to you here with the game and the questions we want to ask.
Okay, you want me to ask the first question? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Chef Dan, what we kind of talked about was when the question that we came to: is there a false narrative around Coach Tom Thibodeau? We all know the narrative by now. He's limited offensively, never plays young guys, and when he does play young guys, that they're not successful. So, Chef, I mean, whoever wants to take it first. I mean, Kev, that was the questions that Kevin and I had, the topic that we had brought up for tonight.
Right, that's the topic, and the reason why we brought that because the Knicks went into Atlanta shorthanded. No Derrick Rose, no Kemba Walker, no Taj Gibson, no Nolan's Noel, and you could say no problem. So, Chef Dan, that's the narrative. That's the question we had on tonight with that. And we want to say about when we see Coach Thibodeau play young guys when he's not forced, when he's able to play the young guys, we saw a free-flowing offense, a free-flowing game, a quick pace, in a very exciting game. We both did the watch-along play-by-play here last night. I saw something different. I'm not saying that's going to work in 82 games of the season, but it was a refreshing change of pace, and it makes you think about Thibodeau's narrative.
I think everyone in the NBA has their, after you spent some time in the NBA and after certain moments have been made, where you're involved in the moment, certain narratives are formed about certain people, but uh, Tibbs has always had that narrative of not, not playing the young guys unless he was absolutely forced to. But he's also had another narrative of that he likes old school basketball. He doesn't like running a modern offense and things of that nature. And we see that the Knicks currently they're trying to run a modern offense. We know that the starting unit is kind of sputtering at times. Their chemistry is off and things of that nature. But you see it with the bench unit. Thibbs has his imprint all over that bench unit in having a Derrick Rose and a Taj Gibson there. And he's trying to, speed up the court, trying to take a lot more threes. So if that narrative right there about Thibbs is already wrong, I can already see that, the narrative with him not wanting to play younger kids is wrong. But it isn't more so him not wanting to play the younger kids. Being a Knicks fan now and now having 2 consecutive years now of like above 500 play and having a system put in place, we can see that the way Thibodeau runs things is that, people kind of have to earn their minutes. And one of the best ways guys have earned their minutes is also having a history in the league and knowing, certain play calls being called out. Like you just being a professional in the league and lasting and having some time in the league, it means something. It means something not only to Thibbs, but also to everyone on that, everyone in the NBA. And so that's how Thibbs approaches it. So it's not so much, for me personally, I don't think it's him not wanting to play the young kids. It's just that, you have a whole bunch of guys right now that quote unquote they're vets, but they've earned their playing time.
Okay, Z, what's your point on this?
I think there's a 110% false narrative around Tom Thibodeau, especially talking to not Chef Dan per se. Chef Dan laid out his opinion really well, but a lot of Knicks fans saying he just refuses to play young guys, saying and Bulls fans and Timberwolves fans alike saying he's forced to just play young guys. I mean, if he's forced to, he does. But other than that, I'm here to tell you that's not true. And it's the front office that puts the pressure on him to play these vets in every spot he's been in. So let's take it back to his first coaching job in Chicago. Derrick Rose, second-year player, coming off Rookie of the Year, played him, MVP. Okay, that might be an outlier because Derrick Rose is an all-time great when he was healthy. Okay, I get that. Joakim Noah was a project coming out of Florida, albeit he was a first-round draft pick. He was a young guy that he played. Jimmy Butler, after Jimmy Butler's rookie year, he got very impactful minutes in his second year in the playoffs, and he was a huge cog in that machine. Taj Gibson, ever since he was a rookie, played for Thibbs. Then they start, and Luol Deng. When they had gotten a little bit older, and the narrative from that team switched from young contending team to, okay, we added Carlos Boozer, a veteran. All these guys that I mentioned are veterans now. We have to play these guys because we paid these guys. They gave Derrick Rose the huge contract. All that stuff. So the pressure was now, even though Rose was injured, we got to tread water until Derrick Rose comes back. We got to play these veterans that come in like Nate Robinson and Aaron Brooks. Kirk Heinrich was another one he played from young, from the 4-year vet when Thibbs got the job. So a young vet. But regardless, then he goes to the Timberwolves, and even though he had a lot of chemistry issues and didn't like Karl Anthony Towns, and Karl Anthony Towns did not like him, played him big minutes. Andrew Wiggins, young guy, big minutes. Zach LaVine, before he traded him, young guy, big minutes. The front office wanted to make that trade for Jimmy Butler along with Tom Thibodeau because he trusts Jimmy Butler. It's not like Jimmy Butler was a 30-year-old vet. He was still a young vet when he traded for Jimmy Butler. And then still had young guys. But in that playoff run, they had a guy like Jamal Crawford, who Knicks fans might say was a perfect candidate for a veteran, rental-type guy, Alec Burks-type guy, come off the bench, score. And he rode the bench for Thibodeau because he played young guys. And then he comes to the Knicks. His first coaching job, his first season in New York. When healthy, half of his 10-man rotation, 50%, 5 players were young guys. Mitchell Robinson, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin, R.J. Barrett, and Kevin Knox was the 10th man. And then they went to a 9-man rotation. Regardless, this year he now has to pay. He plays Julius, who's still young, but he's a vet. Got the big contract. Nerlens Noel got a bigger contract, 3 years, $10 million a year. Derrick Rose, 3 years, $12 million a year, or 2 years with a third-year team option. And Alec Burks, same thing. They're all making double digits in the millions. And those guys, the front office pays those guys for a reason. They want them to play. They want them to make an impact. Thibbs doesn't have much of a choice. And what's the difference is when you see Thibbs with a younger team, like with those young Chicago team, that young Minnesota team, and last night, this young Knicks team, they're not always the most talented right off the bat, but when they play, he didn't have Johnny Bryant on those other two teams, and he had the same free-flowing, fast-paced offense when he had a young team. So when you have him force this Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, these guys on him, and Julius Randall and all these guys, he has to play at a slower pace because it benefits them. And that's the way you can win with them. But as you saw, as soon as those young guys came in, and it's the bench mob normally, and last night it was just an undermanned team, the offense changes, the whole mindset changes, and he can win ball the same way. Just he can still win. He likes to play young guys, as you see. He has more fun. You can hear it in his post-game conference or post-game press conference. He didn't complain, but he had a good time coaching those young guys. He loves a Deuce McBride. Even though Deuce is young, that type of defensive-minded first guard, quick and shifty, he loves those type of guys. He loves the Quentin Grimes type. He loves all these guys, but they're not going to get minutes over the guys they just paid $10+ million a year to. And R.J. Barrett used a high first round pick on him. Like that's not how it goes. You have to say to Leon Rose and said, "Hey, I'm gonna bench Kemba and Fournier and Burks and all these guys, and I'm gonna play these young, fast, exciting players that are winning games." They'll be very mad at him, and it'll cause animosity in the front office.
Chef Dan, what's your thoughts on that point? If you
I don't know. Like, see, that's the thing. Zach brings up very good points, but see, the one thing I can't say that whether the front office would be mad as to whether he would play the young guys or not. I mean, in essence, they did pay Fournier and Kemba, all that money to come in and play, and they are veterans. So those guys that you're giving a contract, you'd rather give those guys the playing time. You'd rather have them have the playing time as opposed to the rookies, because if the rookies are out, beating the vets in practice, that it sends a bad message about where the natural order of things is. But I can't say for sure as to whether the front office would be upset or not. That's just conjecture right now because we don't know yet. The front office hasn't made any announcements as to what they would like to see and things of that nature. So that's conjecture. But what I would say though is I wouldn't, if I am the front office, I wouldn't be upset at at playing those young guys, because realistically looking, it seems like the front office did a better job of drafting more so than free agency, because these young guys fit better together than the free agents do together. And it's not poo-pooing the fit that Fournier and Kemba has had so far. We see that Fournier has had a good chemistry with Julius Randall and things of that nature, but it seems like a Quentin Grimes and a Miles McBride fit more naturally with an IQ and RJ and that core, along with a OB or a Mitchell Robinson. It seems like those guys just fit seamlessly better. And so if you can develop those guys and develop the skill sets that you'd want, that way you get a younger lineup and you can have something like what essentially Phoenix is having right now. They're running a whole bunch of young guys. They have a vet or two, and Chris Paul and a couple of other guys. We see that Devin Booker, he's had a couple of years in the league now, so he can qualify as a vet. But you just have a couple of vets here and there. But you let the young guys star, and they just add the gravy on top.
Okay. See, and Kev, before you chime in, if I want to just make a point on what Chef Jan said, it's not conjecture at all. Although they haven't said anything, I give you that. But they did without saying anything. They paid all these guys these money, multi-year contracts, double digits and millions. That's who they want to play. And they don't have, no front office comes out and says that they want this player to play over this one or this one to play over that one. Short of maybe Jerry Krause back in the day play Michael Jordan, but that's stupid. Everybody's going to play Michael Jordan or LeBron James or those guys, but no, they're not going to come out and speak against their head coach. Good front offices, at least. You need to play this guy, you need to play that guy, because that's what, like, for example, my Cowboys do with Jerry Jones. I mean, that's not what every team does. So, but when you pay all these guys this money and you come in and you bring Kemba in, you make it this feel-good story, blah, blah, blah. You pay Evan Fournier $80 million. You pay all these guys $10+ million a year. They're going to want them to play over the Jericho Sims of the world, the second-round draft pick, the Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride, because they have their control for many years. So they're going to have them in the fold if they want them. So they're going to want Tom to showcase these guys to make them look smart. It's just how it goes. Just like back in the day when you can make the same argument that's why, for example, in Minnesota, he didn't play Jamal Crawford much, because they had all these young guys, high draft picks. They wanted them to play, if that makes sense. But I see what Chef Dan's saying, and I totally agree that it's not a cause to pause just yet, as far as the rotations and stuff. But there's, there is a false narrative on Thibbs, 100%.
And that was the debate for tonight, where we were bringing. We want to continue that debate with the false Thibodeau. My thing is, you got to play these vet, and I see why he has to play the vet, because they have the most experience. Also, and we thank God, it's going to be almost a year to 2 years. We're really not talking about him, but he still sits there courtside. The Grinch on 34th Street, which is James Dolan, that sits there with the sourpuss face. That's a factor. Thank God he's quiet. He's been a model citizen, model owner, so far. But don't be surprised if they say they start sputtering a little bit. I'm not saying Thibodeau's job is safe. I'm saying maybe there might be pressure for him that want to play guys. We want to see the youth movement. But also the Knicks got to find out. They're just saying, if either you're going to do rollers or you're going to straighten your hair. You're going to go in a youth movement, or you're going to play veterans and try to win. So do you think the Knicks are in the crosshairs on that, or can we have our cake and eat it too?
You want Chef Dan to go?
Or anyone that wants to chime in on this one?
Yeah. I think we're in a crosshair because, what are we doing as a front office? You don't do anything before the draft, and we talked about all these trades, and I get it. But if you don't, I get it, because, you want to draft first. But if you're going to draft first, you need to use your assets that you held on to, that you drafted these guys. You need to use them, because if you weren't going to use them, you're not going to play them. What's the point in using all those first-round draft picks and second-round draft picks when you could have turned them into an established player, whether it be a star or not? You could have turned them into established players that we could play now. And they didn't do that. So then they go to free agency, and I'm thinking, okay, free agent time. We're going to have to sign some big names. They didn't. They waited and signed Fournier, and then they signed Kemba Walker on a cheap deal, which I'm still not a fan of, because Kemba's not the same Kemba. I'll say it. Everybody else might still want to wait and see what happens with him, but he's not the same Kemba, and he's not going to be an impact player for this team. Reason being, that's why Boston got rid of him. That's why OKC didn't want him. Got him out of that big contract. That's why no one else picked him up, and we picked him up on 2 years, $8 or $9 million a year. He's not the same Kemba, and it strapped us. We got two guys that are offensively okay but inconsistent, and don't play zero defense. That handicaps Tom Thibodeau into, especially since you paid them, you want them to play. He can't play his style of basketball. He can't. He has to do a slower pace as well, because you want to limit the other team's offensive possessions, because these guys can't defend. So the less they have to defend, the better you are off. And it shows that it's not working. So they need to make changes, but at the same time, you got these young guys on the bench that you drafted, invested in, and you won't give them any burn. And I guarantee you James Dolan has something to do with that, and Leon Rose. We pay these guys these money, see what they got. And you see the difference when you play them in a short-handed team against a good team. The Hawks are a good team. We know this. And we played them really tough.
Right. Well, I was going to say real quick, remember, the free agent class that came out this summer wasn't nothing to write home about neither, and if we would, we were kind of, are we kind of killing them for spending money because like drunken sailors? Because I kind of like the fact that we brought a Derrick Rose back. The Noel, I'm 60-40 with that. You know, good morning, Jerome from the Philippines. So good morning, good Monday morning to you there. I know you're getting back to work, back to school, and back to the normal Monday routine. Thank you for joining us there on your way to work and having your breakfast, Jerome. And salute to everyone in the Philippines joining us. We're doing a little return of the Knicks discussion on the narrative on Tom Thibodeau and a little bit of the after 20 games played in the regular season with the New York Knicks. We're just giving you our thoughts and our a little bit of a temperature gauge of the New York Knicks roster and what we see on the court and what don't we see on the court as we just chopping it up on a Sunday night. And we thank you for joining us here on the YouTube channel and podcast and all the platforms that receive the podcast as well. This will be on the podcast tomorrow morning, so we appreciate you guys listening to us. And I say, yeah, the free agent class wasn't nothing to write home about. You know, there was a lot of names there. The Knicks weren't going to overpay. I think they paid all right. We could debate about you know, the one is the longest Noel. I know he's really good on the court, but the guy can't stay healthy. But I know, but who? And then you say, Jedi, who are you going to bring in? Who are you supposed to bring in here, to play your center? You know, you're right. You know, but it's so much back and forth. It's a lot of would have, could have, should have type of deal. Second guessing, armchair quarterbacking, and I just wish they would have just gotten a point guard. You know, right now, and I'm still sitting on my soapbox with it. They should have signed Spencer Dinwiddie. I still am sitting on it, but no matter how much I sit on the soapbox, hold my breath, I'm just gonna choke it because it's not gonna happen. It's not that ship sailed and it passed. You know, they really needed was a point guard, and I say to myself, you know what? I should have spoken up back when I was in the other platform because you know they wanted to paint it in a positive narrative, and I should have been myself and say, you know what, I wasn't happy with the
Yeah.
Kemba Walker signing, and I just went along because I just didn't want to be a negative Nancy or be negative on a totally positive program, and I get it because that's not my that was not, I'm a guest on someone else's platform. And I should have been totally honest and not like the Kemba Walker signing. Yes, guys, my name says BX Sports Jedi. I am one of the most proudest Bronx Knight there is. You know, I could be anywhere, and I don't care if you think the Bronx is trash. You know, from the pictures, I'm still proud where I was born in the Bronx, and I want Kemba Walker to do well. Trust me, but I knew it wasn't gonna fit, and I'm still gonna sit on it. And I know it's only 20 games, and but what he would have fit if they needed him coming off the bench. But what they need is a starting point guard to run the New York Knicks, and I don't think he's the guy for this team right now. Now, could it change? I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, I'll sit here by myself on the stream, and I'll like I said, I'll eat the crow. I'll have a knife and fork, and I'll chew it. So, Chef Dan, what's your thoughts on that? Am I talk me off the ledge? Am I off the ledge here, or talk to me? You're always the voice of reason here.
Um, it it all starts off with the original question you asked, and that is, are we at a crosshairs between developing the young guys and playing the vets to try and win? I think that all depends on what picture you're looking at. If you're looking at just the end of this year and what do you want to see for us at the end of this year, then it could seem to be at a crosshairs. But if you're looking long picture and saying that, all right, these guys have built sort of a foundation here, and you have a guy in Randall and RJ who, you know, they're just foundational pieces. We're not saying they're championship contenders yet, but we just have pieces that we can build the foundation upon, guys that come in the right way, things of that nature. Um, then it's not really your crosshairs. It all depends on what you want out of this year specifically, and do you think that this year is the end all be all coming in, or do you think that this year is more so a springboard into years to come?
Mm,
I'm watching this year right now, and I know people say it feels like it's a crosshairs at times, but we're having Emmanuel Quickly still playing with Derrick Rose, who's an MVP caliber point guard who has grown better throughout his years, even though he's lost some athleticism. We see that the game has become easier and easier for Derrick Rose, and we have IQ who had a great game last night. He had 7 assists, but that wasn't something that was foreign to IQ. We saw him having those same trends during summer league and even during the preseason. We have Obi Toppin now. He's running in transition, things of that nature, because the chemistry is getting better on who, how to work with him and things of that nature. D Rose, remember last year it was D Rose trying to find IQ and trying to find Obi. Now this year we have Alec Burks trying to find Obi. We have IQ trying to find Obi. Then we have IQ. Remember last year we couldn't trust as to whether IQ could create for himself because it was either floater or just an out of range 3. Now they're leaving the ball in IQ's hands, and IQ is calling out plays for the bench unit to go into actions and things of that nature. So for me, it's not a crosshairs. We can do both. We can play to win while developing a system for these guys to get comfortable in. Last year I think we were at a crosshairs between trying to be trying to develop the new guys while trying to develop a system that works for winning. And we couldn't do that because we had offensively challenged players. But now looking at this roster, we have guys that regardless of what they can or can't do defensively, offensively, these guys can do just about anything. So now it's about building a system that way the offense negates whatever you're not getting on defense. Every team in the league is looking for that system, and that can be achieved here. But it can happen. It can happen while having a symbiosis of us trying to win.
Okay, I'm gonna make a quick. I'm gonna give the floor to you, Z, real quick. I just wanted to make things. Just wanted to bring up to light. Remember, Obi Toppin got injured start of the last game of the preseason, the beginning first 5-6 games in the NBA regular season last season. So he was behind the 8 ball a little bit. And you saw how Coach Thibodeau rode him a lot. That he was Obi. I think that set Obi back a little bit, but you saw how he flourished later in the playoffs. Z, go ahead, Z. The floor is yours.
Well, it's an old adage in sports. In every sport, it doesn't matter what it is, but you're always taught, and Kevin, Dan, you can agree with this, it's a fact. If the coach is not getting on you, then there's a reason. And if the coach is getting on you, that means he believes in you. And that's not. But to answer Chef Dan, I mean, this offense is extremely limited. They got Kemba Walker in, who's small, who is not what he once was, who is a jump shooter. He's a career 42% when he goes to the rim, which is one of the lowest in his generation, especially as starting point guards. Evan Fournier is a jump shooter / mid-range shooter. He doesn't have much ISO, and he's rarely inconsistent. And you bring in a little bit better offense, I'll give you that, as far as one-on-one for horrible defense. And at the same time, last year we were limited offensively, but we were way more efficient. And since we were more efficient, that made up for the lack of being able to score one-on-one until we got to the playoffs. That's why I said we're in a crosshairs. Yeah, we improved talent-wise, but it's not the talent that you need for the system that Tom Thibodeau likes to run. And if you're going to do that to a coach, I don't care if it's Thibbs, I don't care if it's Pop, I don't care if it's Phil Jackson, whoever it is, whatever coach has a system, you got to bring in players. If he's your long-haul coach, you got to bring in players that fit their system. And if you don't do that, then you are in a crosshairs, because then you draft guys who I believe really fit Tom Thibodeau's system. Obi Toppin gets up and down the floor, and we showed he's more improved on defense. He's long and athletic. He's only 220 pounds. He can honestly, once he develops more, because he's so quick and fast, play a little bit of minutes at the 3, small ball 5. It opens up everything for him playing Obi Toppin. Deuce McBride, typical Thibbs point guard, quick, rangy, fast, athletic, defensive-minded. Quentin Grimes, Thibbs guy. He can score a little bit, but he's primarily a defensive guy, and we saw that. He's a good defender. I mean, rhythm's off a little bit because he doesn't play much. That's why we're at a crosshairs. We drafted guys that fit his system and the way he wants to do things, and then we sign players to big money that don't. 2 guys. I mean, Derrick Rose, obviously, is always going to fit his system. Taj Gibson's always going to fit his system. Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel are Thibbs type of guys. But the 2 guys that are getting the most minutes at the spot that we need the most improvement at the point guard and the shooting guard / small forward position aren't fitting his system. Those wing players and wing offensive players, they don't fit. So now we're stuck for 2 years with Kemba. We're stuck for 4 years with Fournier if it doesn't work out. Again, I'm the same as Kev. I hope it works out. I hope I can come on this channel with you and eat crow, hopefully. But it's just not working out.
Chef Dan?
I can't say that it's not working out yet. We're above 500. It's currently working right now. It's just not as fluid as we would like it. It seems like right now the players aren't trusting to pass more, and that's the one thing we're killing the starting unit for, is that if they were trusted to pass more, then they would be able to get into their actions quicker. And trusting the pass, I believe, comes with, time together and building a new chemistry. I can't say that Evan Fournier doesn't fit with this team, because the times that he's exploded, we've looked really, really good. And it's not like he's doing something that's out of realm that he can't do every night. He's kind of just playing a two-man game with Julius. The system right now that everyone seems to love last year, that was so efficient, it was essentially give the ball to Julius and let Julius dictate what's going to happen. Either he kicks it out after he gets a double team, or he's going to shoot a mid-range or drive to the paint, something of that nature. Right now, the reason why the offense isn't working is because it's a lot more complicated. Reason why it's a lot more complicated is because you have a guy in Evan Fournier who can do more than Reggie Bullock, and so it gives you a lot more opportunities. You have a guy in Kemba Walker who can do more than Alfred Payton, and so it gives you a lot more opportunities. Like, sometimes a plethora of options, it can stagnate you, because you're looking and it's like you have so much in front of you, you don't know what to do. But that's what having a full season for, and having the practices that we didn't have last year, we have them now. We can solve these things and figure these things out. But right now, nothing is figured out. So I can't say that these guys don't work and that we're stuck with them. I think Evan Fournier is a perfect example for a guy like Quentin Grimes to learn off of. Quentin Grimes could have learned off of Reggie Bullock, cool, but Reggie Bullock was traveling in transition last year. Like, that's the limitation of his skill set. And so, I don't know how else to say it. Like, Evan Fournier, we've all mentioned it after seeing him in action for the first couple of preseason games, and even in the after the first couple of games we've seen in the season. He's a high IQ player. He's very smart. He's just struggling with certain shots right now. Shots fall, and sometimes shots fall, sometimes shots don't. But that comes with the territory. I feel like this offense has the opportunity to bloom and blossom to be a lot more than what it is right now. And if those young guys see that, they can take their own twist on it and take it to an even further level. But the guys are right there. Like, all the skill sets and everything we need are right there. I don't think there's a trade that we can make right now other than looking for a superstar where it'll just, everything will just open up a lot more, because at the end of the day, it still has to flow through Julius.
Right, but the only thing that, and we know all that is all set well, and you make great points. Not to take away from it, but the only thing that frustrates is, why does the second unit, even when you bring in the summer league rack pack, look so quick, so exciting, so free flowing, and so natural, while you got a bunch of guys who you see the back of their baseball cards literally, and you see their numbers, and it's just like, it's slow. I can tell you that right now. I can close my eyes because I've done so many. I've done already 20 plus watch alongs here. Julius brings the ball up. He's going to pass it to either RJ. RJ passes it back to Julius. He gives it to Fournier in the right corner, or the right left corner. Double team. Shot clock at 12. Passes to Julius. Back to Fournier. Fournier to Julius. Julius is going to take a long range jumper. He misses. Here comes transition. Here's down the lane and a foul. Count it. 3-point play. Eat, drink, and repeat. I've done this call. I actually close my eyes for those that are watching us or hearing us on the audio platform. This is almost every game.
Yeah, and to think about it too. Yeah, Reggie and all those guys were limited offensively, but it was more efficient because they played better. They played both sides of the floor, and at the same time, there's no this at this point. This offense is so inefficient because it's my turn, your turn. That, like you just said with that watch along, keep passing it back and forth to the guys, and eventually one of them ISOs. No, one of them was ISOing. It's more efficient in a basketball game with an offense when there's just one guy that's ISOing, and the rest is catch and shoot, backdoor cut, alley-oop, whatever the case. It's more free-flowing. And this team, they're trying to force the my turn, your turn, because Kemba's got to get his. Fournier's got to get his. Julius has still got to get his. RJ's got to get his. And then, if Derrick Rose is playing with the starters, well, he's got to get his. And it's just it's not an effective offense. And that's why and then you notice, because we're even limited now, we're a bunch of jump shooters. We're now leading the league in three-point attempts, and we're down on efficiency from last season. Because most of the time, Evan Fournier's shooting a three. Most of the time, RJ Barrett's shooting a three. I mean, Kemba Walker shooting a three. It's just we're limited, but in different ways.
And one thing is, remember, and Clyde says it on the broadcast and every time, then back in last year's Knicks team, their defense was their best offense. And since the starting unit is not providing that shutdown defense and is not providing that offense, could it be why we're getting frustrated and we're not seeing? I'm thinking, each year's a different year. Last year was last year. This year is this year. I guarantee you see you ask anybody in all walk of life. Last year was different from this year. You're not gonna make the same money. You're not gonna you either make more or you make less. And we weren't, and for us to expect them to be like the top defensive again, or expecting what we saw last year, expected this year. Full on us, because we're maybe it's us Knicks fans thinking that we're expecting the same team just because they put on the orange and blue, they're gonna come out there and be top 10, top 5 defensive team. Doing what they did last year. It's just a different mindset. You could see
it's different philosophy, Kev, and that's the problem. I'm not saying it's the same team. I'm not saying any of that, but it's different philosophy. When you have how many times this year? I know it's early, but have you seen Julius Randall get a free transition dunk?
Not much.
And you saw it a lot last year because we were playing good defense. Even though we were low in the pack, very low, I think that last in the league, if not 29th in the league, at fast break points. But it happened a lot more to get our guys easy buckets, to get guys, because we played better defense. Like you said, our defense was our best offense and our best thing. So now you paint this narrative as an organization and a fan base that we added Fournier and Kemba and took away Alfred Payton, who everybody hated, and Reggie Bullock, who a lot of people hated. We're going to win 60 games. We're going to win 50 games. Oh, we're going to be so good. Well, guess what? We're about the same. We were 9-11 at this point last year, and we're 11-9 at this point this year. Is all that extra money, all that money that went around, all these new guys that came in, was it worth 2 wins? To me, no. So that's why I say we're at a crosshairs. Because, yeah, we're a little bit more improved, but in one area, but vastly worse in a lot of other areas.
Well, the body of work. We still got to give it a body of work. We still got to give it time for that 2 wins. But what we see right now in the first 20 games, and this is why I'm a little bit frustrated, is we're starting to see the same mistakes over and over, and I don't see a correction in those same mistakes again. And if I see just a slight bit of a correction, then I say, okay, give it time. Let's give it time. And I'm still, and there's plenty of time still for those corrections to be made. But as I want to see some type of correction when it comes to the starting unit, the starting play. Move the ball around from north to south, not east to west. It looks beautiful. Harlem Globetrotter from behind the 3-point line. All that pass. All I got is connect on one of my watch alongs. I'm gonna put the Globetrotters theme music on, so you can see it. It's gonna and just to dub it, and you're gonna say, man, Jedi, you got a point here. I love my New York Knicks. I want to see them win. And I'm glad that they're catching up to the new NBA style of basketball, shooting the threes. But I want to see my starters, go north to south, and not east to west. My opinion. Salute to Alton Lee. Man. I'm glad you're here, my friend. Hope you're doing well in Chicago. We'll play your hometown Bulls coming up the middle of the week. But salute to you here joining us. Dan, I haven't heard from you in a while. Chime in here, my friend.
Man, I just think right now we are shooting a lot more threes, but how we're getting them is also important. We are doing a lot of isolation, but last year we didn't, and I know last year was a different year, and we're really hyping up last year's offense, but last year it wasn't a lot of cutting off the ball.
No.
This is what I'm saying. The potential for us to cut off the ball, and if one play breaks apart for us to get another play, the skill set is there, because if you leave Kemba to, kind of, if you leave Kemba running off the ball, diving into the rim to try and make something out of nothing while he's, laying it up, he can do that. He's smart enough. He's smart enough, and he's agile enough, because it's like the steps are still there at times. He just can't get the burst, whenever he wants to, but it's there at times enough for him to affect the game some. He just has to choose, when and where he wants to do it. And I think that, was important for him, and why he wanted to go on a team with Derrick Rose. He's seeing Derrick Rose have the ability to do that. But we also seeing Derrick Rose also, he works well off the ball too. Derrick Rose can do some things off the ball. It's a new skill set that Kemba Walker has to learn, because he's never truly been off the ball like that. So now that's something he's learning. He learned a little bit while in the Celtics, but the lesson was rough, and now he has to continue learning the lesson over on the Knicks. Same thing with Evan Fournier. But right now, the offense, the reason why I think it's not working is not because our defense is lacking. We're still having some great defensive nights here and there. I think really right now what's stopping our offense is not doing continuous cutting, not having a whole lot of off the ball movement that we can have. I've seen RJ cut off the ball, and once he notices that no one else is cutting, it's just him, he'll kind of, move to a corner, stop right there, and settle for a three. It has to be every player on the court hold themselves accountable for having continuous movement. It's tiring, but you have to do it in order to get yourself the best look. But we're not seeing a lot of guys, try and help themselves get the best look off the ball while Julius is, maneuvering, and he has a double team, things of that nature. So it's up in the air for me right now. I think that's something Thibbs has to address, but also the players themselves have to hold themselves accountable to going, okay, I have to move more. But that same offense with this type of offense and this type of freeness, the reason why we're upset at them is because we know they can be a lot more free than last year. It's just that they're not doing the little things that amounts to them gaining their own freedom.
But at the same time, last year's offense was bad. I would change so many things about last year's offense, but like you just said, they have the potential, but they don't. And I appreciate that, Kev. Appreciate the plug. But it's just it's not happening, and no one can blame Thibbs. And that was the topic of the video, was the false narrative, because it is on the players. They're not working together. They're not playing together. Because look, as soon as that Rat Pack or the young kids come in, is it Thibbs not coaching the team still, Kev? Is Thibbs still coaching that team when the young guys come in? And the offense looks completely different. The defense looks completely different. They actually play with a free-flowing mind and a free-flowing motion offense, and they're successful. You saw it against the Hawks. And if it happens again, you'll see it again. They might not win every game. It's an 82-game season. They're not going to win every game. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they play better basketball. When there's no egos, when there's no, certain requirements of getting certain guys the ball, they play freely.
Let me ask this. I wanted to ask this question to Dan. Where Kemba Walker, do you think he's able to make that adjustment like Derrick Rose, or better yet, how much more games will the Knicks organization or Thibodeau give Kemba Walker to try to figure out if he could change his style of play? See, and I'm going to do a little bit of a cross reference. Derrick Rose changing his way of basketball to play off the ball. Kemba Walker needs to know how to play that. It's similar to when for those who are listening about baseball, Cesar Sebastian was a hell of a pitcher who threw a 99, 98 miles per hour fastball. He had to reinvent himself, learn how to throw off speed, nibbling corners, pitching up and down in the strike zone. and he readjusted, and he had a long career. He wasn't the ace though, but he was very effective. Does Kemba Walker has that, or I think it's still a little bit too. We still got more time to. We need more time to find out if he's able to do that adjustment. In my opinion, like I said, my name is BX Sports Jedi. I love the Bronx. I'm rooting hard for Kemba Walker, but how many more games can we give him to try to figure it out, Chef Dan?
It can be a number of games where it's damaging, but at the same time, we do have to. What it is for me is first we have to see that the agenda is being put in place, and that means that we're already seeing it. When the first unit comes out in the first quarter, as of late, when that first unit is together, they're trying to push the pace a lot more. We're seeing them do that, but now some people are starting to get lazy, and it doesn't like the thing is it doesn't happen right there in the first quarter. It
No.
usually tends to happen near the end of the second quarter and the start of the third quarter. That's when this laziness tends to happen. Now, I gotta pinpoint, like, as much as we would want Kemba to be the guy that, you know, as much as we would want Kemba to be the guy to you know be cutting off the ball, things of that nature. Sometimes, like, this is the thing. This is why I can't just put it all on Kemba Walker. Sometimes it's Kemba Walker not cutting off the ball, right? When he's not doing what he's supposed to do. The other times, and we've been beating around the bush now, so let's get to it. The other times, and it's more important that this guy is supposed to be cutting off the ball and really doing it a lot more, is Randall. If Randall cuts a lot more, if Randall holds himself accountable to have a lot more off the ball movement, the same off the ball movement we were seeing when Mike Miller was the coach after Fizdale got fired, when he was running a lot of pistol action, the same off ball movement that Randall was having, when he was coming off the bench during the when he was with the Pelicans, and the same off ball movement that we were seeing during this Hawks game. He had the same off-ball move. If he dedicates himself to just doing a little bit of that sometimes and helping himself get free, then maybe the offense opens up and he can hold the ball a lot more because he's had a couple of touches and the ball has gone in the hoop a couple of times. But I can't blame this all on just, Kemba and Fournier being stagnant. Like, to be honest right now, the three-headed monster that's kind of giving us issues, because at some point during the night, it's gonna be one of these three. It's Kemba, Fournier, and Julius. But it's not something that is Thibodeau's fault. I think they have to hold themselves accountable. I know Thibbs is clearly telling them that they have to move around a lot more. But if Randall is the captain, he's got to hold guys accountable, and that means himself.
And you said it's not just one guy or two guys; it's all five of the starting unit. Randall's actually gotten in more dribble handoff, pick and roll scenarios where he doesn't need to be cutting just necessarily. He needs to be also screening and rolling more, which he has done a little bit more than last year. But he needs to do more screen and roll action. RJ's so stagnant, it's not even funny. He just kind of stands in the corner half the time and waits to get a touch. I mean, the whole team. And that's where the topic was about. And great job tying it up, Chef Dan. It's not Tibbs' fault. We see him screaming at the starters, too. We see him saying, you got to move the ball more, move yourselves more. When it's a primetime game and they have those little timeout huddles where they listen to the timeout, you hear him. Share the ball. Play for each other. I mean, it's not – then that's why everybody wants to blame Tibbs. It drives me insane. It's a player thing, too. You got to hold your key teammates accountable if you're Julius. If you're Kemba and Derrick Rose, you guys want to get in here – and Kemba wants to be one of the leaders on this team, it doesn't matter if you've been here 10 minutes. You got to come in and hold your players accountable on the court. Julius Randle, same thing. So that was a good point.
Yeah, excellent. You broke that down well, the way you said that he should play off the ball. Not for nothing, Julius Randle had a really good game last night. We got to give credit what credit is due. He wasn't effective, but Randle played really well. Randle played well yesterday, not scoring-wise, but on the defensive end. Got a lot of offensive rebounds. He got in there, and he really, really, really played a really good game last night. And very impactful. Now, let me ask a question with this. Could it be since Fournier and Kemba Walker new to the team, they're veterans, they know how the NBA works, they know how everything is. You don't go in there, one thing is you don't go step in on Superman's cape. You don't go into someone's refrigerator and start opening the refrigerator and taking out your groceries. When is these guys gonna feel comfortable to say, you know what, I'm part of this home. I could open the refrigerator and I could grab, something out of the refrigerator because I live here. I'm trying to bring that as a metaphor. With comes, could it be that they just don't want to upset the apple cart with Julius Randle? They saw that he was a borderline All Star, and I mean, that's not a borderline MVP. Excuse me. Let me correct myself. Top 7 in MVP voting, and they don't want to step on his toes. Maybe could it be that what it is? And they're trying to trend, lightly with, but when is the time, Julius Randle, is it going to be like, okay, Julius, we're gonna make your role step diminish just a slight bit, play off here. Let us do this here. We're gonna incorporate you to fit on us, trust us, because we've been around this league for a while, or maybe just as long as you, and Kemba's case, maybe longer. And I think this is gonna work. And is Julius Randle accepted to get in there? And I also want to make a point before I throw that around. Do you think this stagnant between both three, this um, don't want to step each other's toes, has gotten RJ Barrett to regress a little? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll take that. It has to be. And if you pay these guys money and you bring them in, Thibbs' culture that he puts in place, even Derrick Rose, the way he treats every player, he gets on them. I mean, and he expects excellence out of all of his players, whether they're new or old, whether they're on the team or just now. It shouldn't be an amount of games. It should be right away. Talking, being a leader. You don't have to be the top dog or the alpha, but you can be a leader and voice yourself. And Julius needs to let that happen. Julius needs to trust his teammates. But I mean, if it hasn't happened now, it didn't happen last year. He didn't trust his teammates. I hope it happens before Christmas. If it doesn't, then we have a real problem. Normally, they always say you wait until Christmas time to really evaluate your season in the NBA, to what you're going to do if you're a contender, if you're a pretender, whatever the case. But with RJ, he's regressed. He doesn't assert himself. He needs to assert himself more, call for the ball, demand the basketball, and whether it's because RJ, when he has the ball in his hands, he creates for himself and others. So, but what good are you if you're just going to sit in the corner and wait for Julius to hand you the basketball? And that's definitely going to affect his growth.
I want to salute White Falcon 44. Salute to you there. I know you got some points there. RJ is big brother. He wants a small forward. He's not agreeing with the chat members, but hey, it's everyone's opinion. Just let's get with it. Let's we respect each other's opinion here. We don't want to get into the negative part of cursing, but we agree with your chat, with your thoughts. Your opinion is read here, and as long as we keep respectful. But I appreciate you here, White Falcon 44. Everyone in the chat as well. So go ahead, Z, Chef Dan, or you done? You want to pass it over to Chef Dan, or
no? Go ahead. I'll Chef Dan, and then
yeah, we're gonna be on for a few more minutes.
I don't think RJ's regressed. We just because really, the man, we're forgetting something. He's having a slump. Prior to this slump, RJ carried us for 4 or 5 games. I don't think he's regressed. If anything, I think they're all still trying to find their footing. But I think the best footing these guys need to have, not for nothing, man. I know, because right now what Julius is trying to do, I see it sometimes. He's trying to balance out the touches. He's trying to balance out the importance. He's trying to balance out, who gets what. And they're all trying to get their run. But at the end of the day, man, I think this has the statement has to be set that this is Julius and RJ's team. Kemba and Fournier are coming in to help, but that's it. This is still Julius and RJ's team. And what that means is sometimes when Julius is, he ain't got it that night, give it to RJ to dictate sometimes, because RJ, he's just as good a passer, if not, sometimes he shows a better passing chops than Julius. Not only that, but not only that, but like it just seems like, man, how do I say this? The only time that RJ felt comfortable, and we saw this last night, was when the pace was quicker. And so now there has to be a lot more accommodations for each and every player. If by Christmas time, I have to say this, and I know I'm making a whole lot of concessions, but if by Christmas time we're still trying to figure out who we're conceding for between Kemba and Julius and things of that nature, then I have to agree with you guys there. We have to find a different role for Kemba, because like it was enticing watching IQ on the court. It's enticing watching IQ with Julius. The times that they've played together last year, the court looks open, and IQ pushes the pace way more. IQ pushes the pace just as much as Derrick Rose does, if not sometimes even more.
And you know what's also effective with that, Chef Dan, to piggyback on what you said? IQ is a young guy in his second year that is not waiting for Julius Randle to trust him or deferring to anybody. He's coming in and he's being a leader of his own. He's not like he's talking on the floor. He's leading by example. He's fearless. I'm just saying, like, everybody needs to have that attitude, whether it's Julius Randle or Wayne Selden. It doesn't matter. Everyone on that team has to have that mindset in order for this team built this way to be successful. But and just to talk about the Thibbs thing too, it's not Tibbs' fault for the chat that's listening. It's not the offense, because Tibbs didn't ball. You can ask Doc Rivers and Jeff Van Gundy. They give him credit for building those offenses, changing those players' roles, getting them to buy in. So it's Tibbs that has done it before with higher names than Julius Randle and RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker. So it has to be some pushback from the players.
Before I just want to say something right now, because it seems like White Falcon, he's got a lot to say right now about how it's not Julius's team. White Falcon, I know you that's a good question right there. When Shaq went to the Lakers, whose team was it? It was Shaq's team when he got there. And the reason being is because he can command a double team. No one on this team can command a double team like Julius Randle right now. No one gets a double team like Julius Randle right now. So White Falcon, I know you want to trade him, but it's Julius Randle's team right now. You got to respect the work he put in last year, getting the All-Star nod, almost MVP, all-team NBA second team. That was a real achievement.
And at the same time, Chef Dan, what made that Lakers team a championship contender? Kobe eventually stood up to Shaq. They stood up to each other. They were toxic off the court, but on the court, they weren't backing down from each other, and they played basketball together. They understood that they were both valuable to the team. It wasn't about Shaq trusting him or him trusting Shaq. It was about them trying to get the best out of each other and having both two alphas arguing and talking about that. It helps when you have a guy that's sitting there, Shaq, get your butt down the court faster. Or Kobe, pass the ball more. You can't question those two. They're dogs. They're two of the greatest ever to do it. But they question each other because – and Derek Fisher was a leader. All these guys were leaders even though they weren't at the caliber of those two players. Everybody bought into that system. And that's what needs to happen here. I'm not saying we're going to win a championship. We're not those Lakers. But they need to buy in more, and they need to be more coachable with themselves and listen to Tibbs more and the coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what I wanted to mention was where you could see that, like you mentioned, Kobe would tell Shaq to get down the floor and be vocal. And I've been mentioning it. I mentioned on my last podcast before, and I've been mentioning it now for a couple podcasts and a couple watch along. Quickly's body language and reading his lips on the court. He's starting to hold teammates accountable. You know, when they don't rotate on certain rotations on defensive end. You know, and he told Randall several times. I remember I mentioned it last time. There was a look that Quickly gave Randall. That he looked at him like he really looked at him like he was disgusted. You know, he didn't rotate. He have told Emmanuel Quickly. I've even told Obi Toppin, you didn't rotate, man. You know, we gave up that layup because you didn't rotate. You know, I get the all 22 that I don't go in commercials. I stay with the feed from the arenas and so forth. And you see the body language. Also, yes, they had a little bit of a concern with Randall sat on. He soaked at the end of the bench on one of the timeouts. Just keep an eye on that. Maybe he just, wasn't that play of the moment of the game wasn't into it. Hey, we're humans. We're not going to be always invested. We're always not going to be, rainbows and unicorns and happy all the time. We're going to have our moments. And maybe that was a rough moment. Maybe this year, not getting the lack of sleep at home. He has a newborn at home. You don't get the proper sleep, the proper adjustment. He wants to be involved in feeding and being part of his young child, not getting the proper sleep and rest that he got last year. You never know what's going on with, we're all humans, certain things, positioning on the bed. Maybe he has to sleep in a certain way that's not getting his full rest. I don't know. It's not an excuses. You're a professional. You get paid millions of dollars. You should come out and work. But maybe those little things, minor things, is what had Julius Randle off by just not the same stats. I know you said if Julius Randle is a superstar. Well, he was voted last year for a superstar. He was one of the top in MVP voting, and where the Knicks would not be where they were without him. They would not be where they were without him. We appreciate that he was our main player, but we should see. Go ahead, Chef Dan.
Oh,
You forgot to. Chef Dan.
I'm sorry. I'm talking to my girl right now.
Chef Dan got slipped one past the goalie there, so that's live and in color. With that, so we shall see what this Knicks team should do there. What do we do with Obi Toppin? What shall we do with Obi Toppin? Obi Toppin's going to continue to play his game. Right now off the bench, high energy player. Going in there and he's going to have to continue making the best out of him. But if this continues by this time next year, you guarantee that kid is going to be unhappy being in New York if he's still, being treated like that. And guarantee there's going to be some grumblings. He's a humble kid, a really good kid right now, but you can only bend someone for so long. Maybe this is something. Maybe he needs to be a little vocal. Maybe maybe that's what happened last year. He was a little too nice, and maybe something like this. Things happen for a good reason, guys. No matter what happens in life, no matter what, things happen for a reason. Always the positive comes out later on. Obi is a starter. Obi could be a starter, yes, but here's the thing with Obi Toppin. If he's a starter, he's not the main feature star. Obi Toppin couldn't handle Randall's load as he did last year for us. Because right now, guarantee will be probably in the Orlando Magic type area or number 12 in the league. What's your guys' thought?
Yeah, Obi is not the type of guy that can get his own shot like at will, like Julius Randle can. Even though it doesn't look pretty, Julius Randle can ISO on anyone and get a shot off. Whether it goes in or not is a different story. But he can get his own shot off. And Obi Toppin has proven that he can't just yet. He needs a good point guard to get him involved early and often. What do we not have? A good point guard. Kemba Walker's not a good floor general. Derrick Rose not a good floor general. Emmanuel Quickley's getting there someday, but we're not going to be the same caliber of team, like you said, if Obi Toppin was the starter.
I agree. Did you freeze, Chuck? Did you freeze?
Nah, I'm here. Zach, I agree with you, but to a certain extent, because at the same time, we don't have the floor general yet. He's being groomed right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not yet.
Yeah, he's being groomed right now. But Obi Toppin, is he a starter? No, he's not a starter yet, but he's showing a lot of nice things. And if anything, the reason why I feel like we're all excited about Obi Toppin is because we're now seeing that essentially 5 people on the bench. I don't know, because Noel's challenged offensively. All right, with the addition of Taj Gibson, 5 people on the bench. Essentially, you can have a lineup of 5 people contributing offense and defense at a level that would be higher compared to most of their contemporaries. So we have the highest scoring bench right now, and like it should just be left as is. Obi's doing great things right now. That if we were to enter a playoff series right now, everything Obi's giving us, it would be high energy. It would be gravy right on top of chicken. If the chicken's fried and it's salted and you got the rice right there, Obi's points is the gravy right on top.
And then we're moving on up.
Yeah. White Falcon just asked the question in the chat. He said, "We have 8 kids. Are we gonna win a ring with Randall, Fournier, and Kemba?"
Well, they're the placeholders. My opinion on Falcon is they're the placeholders. Like Alton Lee says, the Knicks window is 2023. He always said that. He's been saying that for a while now. He's always been saying that Knicks window for the championship starts at 2023. And you know what, Alton Lee, your statement for the since last March has been right on point. You know, your timeline is right on point. You know, and of course, we need to relax and we need to enjoy the growth and the growth of our. And of course, it's going to be growing pains, but it looks good. It looks better. We're not the bottom feeders of the team, you know. But we're a little bit worried because we see the bottom of the league right behind our tail, and that's just it's okay to be a little bit of concern because when you see the number 12 11 seed right behind us, near us, a couple of losses, we can have a bad week and we're right there with them, and the way the East is so strong, you get a little bit worried about can we have an uphill climb? Do we see this year the way that the league looks? Could you think the Knicks will go on a 9 out of 10 winning streak like they did last year? I don't see it this year.
Actually, I can see that happening this year. We have the offensive pieces, and I think, man, if anything, watching that Suns game, I know it was a blowout. We got beat really bad, but watching the way IQ decided to take it to Chris Paul whenever he had the chance, and then you go over into the Hawks game last night. Trae Young essentially, I know he scored 2 points off of a layup, but if it wasn't for that layup, he would have gone scoreless throughout the whole fourth quarter, and that's money time. But that's because Burks is guarding him, yeah, but then primarily the top defender on Trae Young is an Emmanuel Quickly. When you have a guy like him who's, he feels like it seems like he's bred to just never say die. I think the team, he's going to, at some point, because we're already seeing it right now, he's leaving his imprint all in the fourth quarter and in those clutch moments. His attitude and the way he goes about it, he's going to take over and influence the team to a point where we're going to, have that energy and everyone, it's going to become contagious. Kemba is a guy who, when there's good energy, he gives it off as well. I think all that energy is going to become contagious. I think the offense is going to find its flow at some point. Guys are going to want to cut more. They're going to want to play unselfish more. And then we're going to hit that winning streak. It's possible.
Okay. So let me ask that. So what do you think is their season high winning streak for this? I mean, it's too early to tell. I don't know. I hope so. I hope I would, for the channel's sake, I would love to go on a 9-game, 10-game winning streak. You know how fun it will be up and down calling these games and all the excitement that it gives us. Who doesn't? Nobody wants to sit here on a watch along and for 2.5 hours of everyone's time they're gonna lose. 7 out of 8. We want to see them win 9 in a row, 10 in a row. So yeah, I hope so. We go Loudly this year. This year's to grow. I agree. We need to groom a point guard, but we need to find out. Mitch is Mitch. I'm seeing RJ progression, and Fournier will be a successor to Rose. Okay, that's a good point there. That's a really good point.
That is definitely a good point. But also, I just want to say, if you saying that about the watch along right now, the G Money watch along must be rolling right now. 16 wins straight with his sons. The G Money watch along is eating right now.
And of course, White Falcon says we have the future point guard in IQ. Derrick Rose is here too. McBride too. Trey Kemba. Kemba, I think Kemba will be. I think don't be surprised. Wouldn't surprise me if the struggles continue around late January. They'll just buy him out. And it is what it is. It wouldn't surprise me. Hopefully not. Like I said, I am a Bronx native. I am a proud Bronx native. I want Kemba Walker to do very well. Extremely well, but we gotta, if it doesn't fit, doesn't fit. But we shall see. We shall see. This is the fun part. We're not no longer at this point. Many years ago, we're talking about, man, who's the Knicks gonna draft in the draft number 1? Let's go. I wonder how Kentucky's doing or Duke. I wonder how player X is doing or player Y. Do you think where we're gonna draft them? It's good to see that we don't have to worry about those type of narratives.
Most definitely, but also we can finally get this out the way. Kemba Walker is officially the first signing that Leon Rose has had that everyone universally, every Knicks fan universally is questioning. So we can get that out the way. Leon Rose isn't the golden boy that everyone thinks he is. You know, everyone can make mistakes, but that doesn't mean you hang him with things of that nature. You don't give up on Leon Rose for everything he's given us so far. Everyone may even think, to a certain extent with the Noel contract, you mentioned it earlier that felt like maybe it didn't warrant the number that he got, but for all that he gave us last year and also the ability of what he gives on the defensive end, even while him being hurt, when he comes in, he still makes a difference, and the number isn't really what it was reported to be. It's all okay right there.
Right, I agree with you there. Z, you want to give your last parting shot? I know you have to get going.
No, just I appreciate you guys for having me, and I'll see you guys next stream.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Z.
Z. You know where to find Z, the A to Z Media. He'll got to go right now, take care of some business there. So thank you, Z, for coming on with me and giving me a time at the podcast. We're gonna end this in a few minutes as well. We're done drafting. We need to trade. How do you feel about Clippers wanting Kemba for Fournier, Randall, Noel? I don't know. I haven't heard a trade that way, but we shall see what trades there. The only one trade I heard, and I saw that it's getting a little bit of traction, and I didn't want to even talk about it, but it's getting traction. It's getting talks about. It's New York and Philadelphia. Yes, yes, him. Ben Simmons. I don't know. It's a lot to digest. It's all hoopla, in my opinion. Trading Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and maybe Kemba Walker for him. It makes no sense, Chef Dan. It makes no sense.
Nah, it makes no sense, especially because really realistically looking at it, the problem we had last year and that we tried to address this year,
Scoring.
essentially we did, was shooting.
Yeah.
And if there's one problem I know Ben Simmons doesn't fix on any NBA team, it is shooting.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, Chef Dan. I don't even know why. It's getting traction. I seen it. I saw it in three different publications. I'm like, wait a minute. If now, but I haven't heard it from any of the NBA insiders. And another one that is getting a lot of traction, and it's getting really hot and heavy is the possibility of a return to the Rockets lineup of John Wall. He wants to play basketball now. He wants to, he's telling the front office, you're paying me anyway. You're telling me to sit, but I want to play. I got a lot left. I feel the healthiest I felt in many years. I want to play, but John Wall doesn't fit the Houston Rockets. He don't fit there. What they're bringing up, what they have to provide have on the court. He's gonna, he could be a mentor, but I don't think the Rockets see him that way. They see him as a troublemaker. And no one in the NBA in the rightful mind, maybe the 76ers will want to trade for that contract. I don't want the Knicks nowhere near that contract. Um, but if it's a buyout situation, it's a different story, Chef Dan. What's your thoughts?
Um, man, John Wall. I know he's having a bit of a struggle in Houston. Part of that is, I guess, because they didn't have any young guys to build any set foundation last year. It seems like they just threw out guys to play, get things over with, and try and secure some high draft pick. They got the draft pick they got. So now you have a guy, I believe, in Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon, he's the only vet that's maybe left over that's kind of teaching the guys the quote unquote Rockets way. But um, I don't know. John Wall, that contract is bad. It's telling that the only time he got traded was for a contract just as bad or if not worse than his in Russell Westbrook. But yeah, I think what he's doing is he's not asking for something that's out of bounds per se. If he gets a little bit of playing time and he shows that he can still play, it also helps the Rockets move it. But they're debating right now is it worth letting him play to get rid of that contract off the books versus maybe having a I don't know what is it having
Spencer.
a harder time of developing the young guys that they have.
Right. We can't, we cannot trade anyone in the second unit. I agree with you, Kelvin. But I'm just, I personally don't want, you're going to have to send back the Rockets, $34 million worth of salary in order to bring John Wall in here. So you're talking about 34 million. You're talking about almost three players on the $10 million mark, just to get them down, to even get John Wall here. And you got John Wall next year at 23 million. No, thank you. You know, and Ben Simmons is a media circus that isn't worth the risk of a championship. I agree with you on that. Me personally, if he gets bought out and he's available, if I'm the New York Knicks, I'll definitely call and I'll bring John Wall in here. What about your roster spots? What you're going to do with your roster spots?
That,
Here's my. You're gonna have to take Kevin Knox, offer him to a team that wants an expiring contract and attach one of your first round picks, one of the later first round picks, and just get that contract off your roster and open up a roster spot for John Wall. John Wall's another Kemba, but John Wall averaged last year 21 points, 7.9 rebounds for a team that didn't have anyone on there that could get, besides Christian Woods, that could score. You put him on a team, and John Wall still penetrates and still is a good finisher. He's not one that's going to take a lot of threes. I think you pick your poison. That's if Kemba Walker doesn't work out and it's available out there. Kemba, there's still hope for Walker, but if it's not working out, and you don't think Quickly's ready to be your starter, you don't want to disrupt it. You got to take your shots on goal. You need to take your goalie shots on goal, and especially in that point guard. And if you can get him for mid-level inception, and you got to get rid of Knox with that because let's face it, the Knicks are not going to draft another 3 first-rounders next year and expect we're going to have the same conversation next year. We're not playing the kids. They're on the bench. They're so far, So I don't know, Chef Dan. What's your thoughts on that one before we, end the night in a few minutes?
Kev, I'm not gonna lie. For all that, I'm agreeing with Kelvin T. Jones here. We really need to grow our own. So I'm not even like I know John Wall. He's an attractive case to some people. The Kentucky connection is there, but in reality, I'd rather keep Kemba or just have IQ, regardless of whether he's ready or not. I'd push IQ into that starting lineup. If not, then we always have a Derrick Rose that we can fall back on and keep IQ in the off the bench.
Right, but you still need that one more point guard.
For all that, man, we're already going without a point guard. I'm not about to pay the mid-level exception for John Wall. The talent's there. It's not to. He's still a talented basketball player. It's just the talent that's needed for this team. I prefer just hashing it out with IQ.
I mean, we could agree to disagree that one. I would take the flyer on him. A guy that wants to play here, bright lights, New York City. This is just last opportunity, last chance. In the league, Tom Thibodeau, all that. I think everything pointed where this is it. You want to make you've seen what the legend how, and we thought the same thing with Kemba Walker, and it's still. And remember, the book on on Kemba Walker is not over either. We're not closing that chapter either, but hopefully, Kemba Walker. I think that's what attracted Kemba Walker to come here to restart his career, write the second chapter of his career, seeing what this has done to Derrick Rose and gravitating to Derrick Rose. I think I'm gonna come here and do what Derrick Rose did, reinvent myself and do it in New York. That's what I'm hoping on. I'm hoping that if there's a down wall opportunity out there, because I don't see any other point guard. And they still need a point guard because no matter what we say, even if we put IQ in the starter role, Derrick Rose, you can't go no more than 25 minutes a game. You can't play Derrick Rose more than 25. He wears down. Kemba pushes the pace, but only for himself. I wish he could even push the pace for himself. He's not even pushing the pace. Calvin. He's just. I would love him to push the pace. That's what I want. I want to see him push the pace and go, north to south. But not for $47 million, Alton. I'm saying if they buy him out and we get him for $6 million or $7 million, takes a lower assumption, he gets bought out. I'm not trading again. I am not trading for John Wall, that ridiculous contract. It is a super ridiculous contract. No, no way, no how. No way, no how. You know, I would not trade for him. But for $6 million, $7 million for for remainder of the year, hey, we want according. And the question is, we're not expecting to win a title, right? So even, I'm not saying John Wall is going to put us to win a title, but I don't know. If we're not going to play McBride and we're going to keep trying Kemba and the veterans out there, and Kemba's not giving it and Wall is available, I don't know. Let's try it. You never know. I don't know. I'm just trying to keep an open mind, and that's my point. I'm keeping an open mind because right now we don't see we never know what the open market or what the candidates are going to get bought out, who's going to be available, who's going to be on the street. But it looks towards that John Wall be one of the first ones out there on the street looking for anything. We saw Boogie Cousins signed with the Milwaukee Bucks today. A lot with the defending champions. They're going to bring him into a winning championship environment, and this is pretty much his last shot here, if you ask me, to try to hook on and change his career and get into winning basketball. He's going to get to a winning organization. It's good for Boogie Cousins to see him there. Hopefully he gets a couple minutes on the floor and he makes the best of it. That's my point. That's why I was talking about John Wall. And John Wall isn't giving that money away, and that's why he's still there. Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. This might be all hypotheticals. I'm just saying. This might be all hypothetical, and he's not going anywhere because I personally, in the state of Texas, I want to get all my $47 million. Ultimately, let's face it. This is a chance where you're able to get generational changing money, and you have $47 million, and you don't get that much tax. Why would you leave some money on the table to go to a team or a state that's going to tax you, a lot of money out of that 6 million, and you're leaving money. Yeah, I could see that too, Anthony. Let's talk about the financial aspect on the contracts as well. So yeah, maybe we're all just talking. Maybe that's why he wants to stay in Houston and play and play whatever role he can because it'd be nice for him to play. He's young, he wants to play, and of course, I'd rather have the full $47 million than maybe 27. You leave a half of it on the table, and then you go play for 6 million, and you get taxed, and you only bring home 5. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Dan? Before you're on that one.
I know you said we need a point guard, so for all that, I'd go to McBride before I go to John Wall.
Okay.
Yeah, like it. For all that, if we can get rid of Kemba, if it's not working, then maybe you have because I see a lot of people, they're playing with the minutes count right now for our point guards, our starting backcourt. But Kelvin T. Jones has he has somewhat of a thing going there. Give IQ 20. If you want to give D Rose 16, cool. Give Kemba 12. If Kemba's not here anymore, that 12 can go to McBride.
Right. That I don't see nothing wrong with that either. I totally agree with that. And actually before all of that, when they had their first losing streak before that, Pacers game when they won at home, I was talking about there's no trades available. You could probably possibly bring a Patrick Beverley in here to help you on if you're worried about your guard defense, playing some really good defense at guard. You could play a Patrick Beverley, the 12 minutes. You can have a three-headed monster with Beverley, Kemba, and Rose at your point guard type. You could still keep IQ at the shooting guard or floating between the starters, mixing between the starters and you put a Patrick Beverley, come in at times with Evander quickly in your backcourt, where you make yourself a really good defensive. But then you go back to what you said, Chef Dan. We're struggling on offense again because Patrick Beverley is not known for his offensive game. So it's like you're trying to play, YouTube 2K here with the Knicks roster, and it's just you can always find an avenue where you get stumped. And with all said at that, Chef Dan, what's your thoughts on that one, the YouTube 2K?
Man. At the end of the day, because like the game doesn't flow as seamlessly as just saying to give these guys the minutes. Sometimes a matchup will call for a certain player to play an
Yes.
extended amount of minutes. Sometimes, some players are getting played right off the floor to where you kind of have to shorten the rotation. and some guys may not have the gas for that. It really is a case by case basis, but at the end of the day, what you want to give yourself the best opportunity to have the three best athletes that can execute the game plan that was taught from the coach. And the best athletes we have in the backcourt as far as, executing the game plan that Thibbs would want is realistically you have Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickly. Kemba has not proven himself to be that yet.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What's going on, Knicks 100 AGM putting out some good tweets out there. So salute to you. I love his tweets out there. So thank you for coming aboard. Yeah, so um we shall see there. We got the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow night. Tuesday night. It'll be interesting to see how we stack up there. You know, Brooklyn is struggling themselves. You know, James Harden is struggling with his shot. He's not getting to the line. You know, could it be the changing of the rules? You know, no foul hunting. Could it be the ball? You know, they changed from a Wilson to Sporting to a Wilson ball. Whatever the narrative, whatever it is. Right now, Brooklyn, it doesn't look like themselves. Doesn't look like they're clicking on all cylinders. Could it be the right time the Knicks catches them? You know, because we remember, guys. Let's not take away from the Knicks' victory last night. The Hawks were on a 7-game winning streak. We played the night before a team that was on a 14-game winning streak, and we played another team on a 7-game winning streak on a back-to-back night. That's impressive. No matter what, how much we're here, we're not being negative about the team. We just want to see them improve, and if we can try to tweak them, you know, our opinions, we would like to see them get tweaked, but there's something to say about this team, though. You know, you played a team that's red hot as the Suns, and then you could have laid a leg last night. You know, oh, we back to back, we got our butts handed, and they came out and they beat a team that was on a 7-game winning streak. Chef Dan.
Yeah, on top of that, they beat them in their own home court where they were, I believe, 8-1 before the Knicks beat them. Now 8-2. So it was a very impressive victory. I don't want to take away from the fact that they did lose Bogdan Bogdanovic, and he is a light 'em up scorer for them that also provides some great forms of defense for them at time. But aside from that, we were down. Like I know they were down Bogey, and I think they lost Cam Reddish in the middle of the game. But we didn't have Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson. We were down a lot players that are a lot more important to us. And the Hawks also have a lot more chemistry. They didn't add too many new free agents, so they have a lot more chemistry in who was running out there, and they just didn't get the job done last night, and we did. And so kudos to us. But the Brooklyn Nets are up next. Onto our second home court.
Yeah, absolutely. Our second home court tomorrow, Tuesday night. It's going to be interesting to see the amount of Knicks fans that are going to be in the building, overshadowing the Brooklyn fans. I think that's going to be. I'm looking forward more to that than the actual game. To be honest with you, you know, we see how loud you guys are, Knicks fans. Salute to everyone that this voice could be heard on either on Spotify, here in YouTube, in Rumble, anywhere that you hear my voice. Salute to every person that is a fan of the orange and blue. You guys deserve a great a round of applause, no matter what stadium you guys in, even if it's in Orlando, all the way down to Philadelphia, to Charlotte, to Atlanta. You guys are loud. You guys are in charge. You guys are known that Nick Nation, no matter good, bad, or indifferent with our team, we will respond and we will have the team's back, and that's why we want to see a good product on the floor. You know, we want to see a good product. We're hungry, we are starving, and we are hungry for a championship, and it shows that. And that's why I commend every one of these Knicks fans that's listening to this podcast, and salute to you guys, man. I want to thank everyone. With that, I'm going to end. I think tomorrow we'll talk about the Brooklyn Nets once we get a little closer, or right before that. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to see how who in this team is going to try to stop Kevin Durant. No one really could, but who could contain him? And James Harden, another assignment for RJ Barrett. We'll see if he's really ready to take that next step. But with that said, I want to thank Alton Lee, Kelvin Jones Sr., T. Jones Sr., White Falcon Z from A to Z Media. Thank you so much. Maria was in the building. I want to thank everyone that's listening to us up and down. We had still Knicks. Ron was in the building as well. Spree, Nice was in the building as well. Thank you, Nice. We had Ashley. Ashley in Inc. was in the building as well. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you to Dan Jones. Thank you for Jerome. Thank you always coming in and out to the program. Palma de Coco, part of the program, always available whenever the stream is on. I always, appreciate your support. Guys, I'm only about 120 away from 2K, 2,000 subscribers. Let's get that. Let's get that, baby. Let's get that before Christmas. I want to get that 2K subscribers. I appreciate you. Yeah, subscribe, join us. Hey, watch along with us. You could put the volume on low, listen to us, talk about it, watch the game with us. That's what the watch alongs we do. I focus more on the watch alongs, the podcast. I usually put it on audio, but we need to relax, like you said, relax as fans. Like you always said, Alton Lee, our championship window doesn't start until 2023, and Alton Lee's been saying that since March. He's been saying that since March. A steady voice, a steady hand, as long. That's how long I know Alton Lee on these platforms. He's kept even keel. He always gives us that right there, the rice and beans. Only 2023 is on window, and we should get going with it. So we appreciate everyone joining us on this Sunday evening. I know everyone's going to get back to work for those who get back to work, and those that the holiday season has started. So we appreciate everyone on the holiday season. Happy Hanukkah to all our Jewish brothers and sisters. The first night of Hanukkah begins this evening. We appreciate you guys, and shalom. And guys, we'll see you on the next time. And if I don't do another podcast, we'll meet you. We'll see you at the watch along. From myself and Chef Dan, wishing you guys a wonderful, blessed night. And we shall see you pretty soon.